Hey guys, hello. Hey guys, how are you? How's everybody? It is day 2 of our Hello Me book discussion. I am super excited to be here with you guys. I'm going to give you a minute to get in, to get settled, and so that we can go ahead and have our discussion. I hope that you all had a great day. I hope that you all, hey, Denisha. I hope that you all had a great day. I hope that you were able to digest and take in all of the things that we talked about yesterday. We are only here on Facebook on today because Zoom was acting a little weird earlier and I didn't want to take any chances. I think just because the influx of people using it on a regular, it kind of was a little slow, so I didn't want to have any issues, malfunctions, or anything. So I am excited to be here tonight. I know that I'm a little razzle dazzle. Hey Imani, hey Felicia, hey Amber girl. So I asked sis, for those of you who don't know, my daughter Carson, we call her sis, and it's not sis. Anyway, I asked sis to go upstairs and get me some earrings, and this is what sis came down with. So I'm giving y'all all of this good fears on today because sis said that I'm a boss and she got me some boss earrings. Her exact words, if you know Carson, then you already know. So shout out to sis. I got me out here looking real cute in these quarantine streets. And I'm excited. These are actually like some of my favorite earrings. These were my Target finds maybe over the summer, and I absolutely love them. So she did a good job, although I was just looking for my hoops, but she did a good job. Go ahead, girl. Thanks, Sarah. Hey, Cherise. So it's day 2, and now we are going to dive into part 2 of Hello Me. And I hope that you all had a great opportunity yesterday to really talk about and think about that process of evaluating and really kind of standing in your inner mirror. And today, part 2 is all about the discovery. It's all about you discovering who you are, you asking the hard questions, and all of that good stuff. So we're going to kind of get into that. So part 2 of Hello Me, and it kind of opens up with me really asking, you or teaching you about the cultivation process. And it's about learning how to cultivate a relationship with you. But what I did was I went through the actual cultivation process as it relates to a farmer and seeds, seed time and harvest, and all of that. So when in the book, you'll see that I talk about me falling in love with the cultivation process, and hence understanding where I shifted to become the purpose cultivator, because I know and believe that my job is to help you foster and grow what's already inside of you. God didn't give me anything to give you, in a sense of you already have the tools and you already have what's on the inside of you. He made you that way. And my goal is to kind of give you that growth and turn some things up on the inside so that when those seeds are planted, that they are planted on good ground and they can foster, they can grow, they can blossom, and all of that. So hence the purpose cultivator. But when you think about the cultivation process and you think about it from a farming perspective, right? They usually go in and do the cultivating first. Before you see harvest, before you see new life, before you see new fruit, before you see any of those things, there's this process of literally going through and turning the ground. There's this process of going through and really making sure that the soil is prepared for what's to come. And when I think about that as it's relating to us having a relationship with ourselves and really having a better relationship with ourselves, what is it that we need to become our best self, right? These are the questions that you ask yourself. And when I'm asking those questions, you're getting to the heart of all of the issues. You're getting to the heart of what has happened and what you need right now in this moment. So when you think about it from a cultivation process, right? You think about it from the preparation, and in the preparation, there's the discovery that happens. So if I'm not asking the hard questions, right? If I didn't stand in the mirror from part one to really ask myself, what is it that I need today? Who am I today, right? And I kind of stop and evaluate what's going on with me. Now I know what areas need to be cultivated, right? What areas I need to focus on more. And as I begin to undig and uncover and all of those things, I begin to learn more about who I am, right? And I think that I always want to put it back to Hello Me is about you welcoming who you are right now. It's about you welcoming who you are today, right? With everything that has happened to you, with everything that you've been through, with everything that you've learned about yourself and all of that. And then, after you greet her, right, it's like a conversation. The first thing you do is greet somebody and you say hello, right? And then after that, you have this conversation and the conversation continues, right? So it's, hi, how are you? And then based on what the response is, will determine the way that the conversation goes, right? And it's the same thing with cultivating a relationship with ourselves. I don't think that we're taught how to have a fully functioning relationship with ourselves. So it's taking that time to say hello and to just check in with you. And then based on what the response is, now granted, we know that we are not responding to ourselves in an actual conversation, so to speak, but we are taking the time to, figure out what that is that's going on. And when we figure that out, we begin to build on that relationship, and it's something that you do continuously. So it's that, okay, hi, I see that I need this, right? And I see that I need to grow in these areas, or I no longer want to be in this area, or I need X, Y, and Z. And then when I say hello to myself and I begin to discover and begin to turn that soil and begin to figure that out, now it's about the preparation, right? It's about preparing. And so the first part is learning to cultivate in part two. But then as you get towards the end, it's about the preparation. Like, what are you going to do now with that, right? It's about giving you what you need. And this is what I put in my notes. It's about giving you what you need, but not just in this moment. It's the ability to have forward thinking, right? It's the ability to forecast what I need today, but also what am I going to need in the future? When I think about the woman I desire to be, when I think about who that person is, I think about who I am today. Hey, Dominique, who I am today, and then my ideal self, right? Who is Yah at the height of who she is, at the pinnacle of being this woman, right? And what does that look like? What does she do? Where does she go? What kind of conversations do she have? What is her passion projects? What is it that, makes her light up? What is it that makes her smile? What makes her angry? So these are the things that you're picturing when we think about it in regards to self-discovery, right? I'm thinking about what I need today, the support that I need, the emotions that I need, whatever that is, like, are there resources? What is it that I need, right? And then I begin to figure out how to get that. But then I also look at long term, right, Denisha? It's the twofold process, because self-discovery and cultivating isn't just about you learning in this moment, but then it's about the maintaining and the moving forward. Because I think one of the things that we do is we'll begin to ask ourselves those hard questions, and we write all of this stuff down, right? And after we write it down, it's that awareness. Right? I'm aware that I need to work on my attitude. I'm aware that I desire this. I'm aware, that I like things this way. I'm aware that X, Y, and Z. And it's great to be aware. But what happens if there's no action behind it? You're just aware that you need to work on this, but what is the action behind it so that you can become, right? It's all about becoming who you desire to be, and then who God's created you to be. And the goal is for those two people to mesh and become one, because who I desire to be and who God created me to be, if they're far-fetched, something is not going to line up, and I'm probably not going to be my best self if I don't know what God intends for me to be, who he's created me to be, why he's created me to be this way, why these are my passion points, why these things frustrate me, all of that, right? And then it becomes this tug of war as opposed to this beautiful marriage. Because the beauty is in us being confident and secure in who we are, who God created us to be, so that we can function at our highest level. Does that make sense? Right? Does that make sense? I want to pause for just a little bit of some talk back. It's a little different tonight because we aren't on Zoom, and the teacher in me and the conversationalist and the extrovert kind of needs a little bit of that. So I know that I may be talking a little faster than you can type, but I would love an engaged and talk back community. So I highlighted it from page 43. Cultivating is the act of digging into and cutting up an existing soil bed. Yikes. To better prepare for planting and growth. Yes. So you said that was a yikes for you, and it is, because it's about digging up and cutting out any existing soil, right? And when you think about that, it's you kind of shifting the game up on how you think, on your views on yourself, on what it is that you have been giving yourself, what it is that you need, how you support you, all of that. And we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but it's how do you dig into or cut up those existing perceptions, those existing mindsets, those existing behaviors that will not support the woman that you are trying to become, and or the ones that allow for you to flourish, right? So making sure that they are at the forefront as opposed to the ones that aren't, right? So when you think about that soil, I don't have a green thumb by any stretch of the imagination, but at work, we got all of these plants. My boss is really into plants and all of that stuff. And what I noticed is sometimes at the top, the soil is hard because it didn't get the nutrients that it needed. But instead of you removing the plant and throwing it away, most times you would dig up, right, that hard soil, and then you would begin to kind of shift and make it a little better so that you can get what you need, right? Because the water or the things that you're getting doesn't get to the root if you don't cut it up. So yes, that's important. That's one of the most important things to do on this learning to cultivate you, because it's that self-discovery of what's needed and what it is that you do. I'm not sure what's going on now. Facebook is telling me that it has a low network connection. So I'm going to keep talking so that we can kind of get through this. So it's about you actually kind of really doing what you need to be the best version of yourself and give you what's needed. So I have 3 things that you can do now that will help with your self-discovery and or rediscovery, because I believe for some people you are in tune with yourself, right? You are beginning this love affair with you. You are beginning to be mindful of what's needed. You're beginning to be attentive and intentional about supporting you and putting you first and all of that. So it may be more of a rediscovery than it is a discovery, right? So with that being said, it's about, what do I really want to do? Or what do I really, do I really know who I am today, right? And if I do, then what is it that I need to support her? What is it that I need to do to discover and fall in love with that person? What is it that's needed for me to become that person and the best version of me? So I have 3 things that you can begin to do now to launch your self-discovery, so to speak, because I believe that you're already there with reading the book, but here are some things that you could begin to do alongside with the book. So one of the first thing is ask those hard questions, right? On page 52, I have a list of those questions that you could begin to ask yourself, and take your time with asking those questions, right? One question may lead to another question, and then, if you're a journaler, begin to journal your responses, audio record them, whatever it is that you need to do, but think on them and don't just try to rush through a series of questions, but more so taking the time to ask those questions. And again, those questions are on page 42, and if you have the book, page 52. If you have the book, there are 5 questions that you can begin to ask yourself so that you can start that process. But then on 49, there's more questions that you could ask. If you notice, throughout the entire book, I'm giving questions because I am all for the reflection. I am all for you having those hard conversations with you. And on 49, it talks about, and I want to read this, right? There has been so much emphasis on cultivating self-love in our culture, and especially on social media. Things like love yourself more, you are enough, and until you begin to love and value yourself, you can't love anyone else. All of which are true, but they fail to explain the how, right? How did you get to the place of choosing you? How do we get here? How do we get to this place? How do we begin viewing ourselves in a way that promotes love, helps you to see beyond the mistakes, the fears, the doubt, and allows you to truly embrace your true self? Embracing you doesn't just happen. It's a result of continuously doing the work. And I want to stop here because we can have great discussions all day long. I can encourage you. I can empower you. You can get all of this good stuff, and we be on these live streams and it's amazing. But guess what? If you don't implement, if you don't do the work, so it's very key that you take the time to ask yourself those hard questions, right? That's the first thing. But in the process of asking yourself the hard questions, it's what you do with the responses that's going to matter. So if you just ask the questions and get the answer and there's no action behind it, then you're not going to be able to move forward in your process of cultivating in that self-discovery. So out of the 3 keys, the first one is to ask the hard questions. Underneath that, you want to make sure that you're intentional with what the answers are and doing the work so that you can be the best version of yourself possible. And that's what Hello Me is all about. It's really about you doing the work, you taking time to check in with yourself, to discover who you are, rediscover, make shifts, make pivots, and move forward in your process of growth, of being intentional, of being bold, of being courageous, so that you could be everything that God has created for you to be. So number 2 is take time for you, right? So after we ask those hard questions and we sit and we reflect and we do all of that, are you taking time to nurture you? Are you taking time to discover the new passions you have, what lights you up, what makes you tick, what things that you no longer love, what projects or passion projects or things that you want to do that's different now? Are you shifting in your career? Do you want something different? What's your body saying to you? What is it that you would like to do more of and support yourself in? What goals do you have? So that taking that space and that time for you, whatever that looks like, right? It may not look like you being able to shut down completely and back away from everything and everybody and just kind of go away for a long period of time, but it may look like you carving out time every single day just to be still and to listen to you, your body, and to do things that you love, that you like, right? Many of you know, if you've been following me long enough, that for my 40th birthday, I took a solo trip, my first ever solo trip that wasn't for work, family, whatever. It was just strictly for me. And 40 was pivotal in my life because I was entering into a new decade, a new phase, and I had evolved so much over the past 10 years that I really wanted to just sit and celebrate who God created, really pat myself on the back for those accomplishments, but also take time to really learn who I am today. And it was great to discover things about me on that trip. And while you may not get an opportunity to go away somewhere by yourself for 72 hours or whatever that is, you can be intentional about discovering you and taking time for yourself, right? Whether that's discovering, rediscovering, just taking a moment to be still so that you're not moving all over the place, whatever that is. Take that time, right? And the last part of that, to take action, right? Number 3 is to do, right? It is time for you to do all of those things that you need to do. And when I say do all of the things that you need to do, based on those hard questions, does it require that you go to therapy? Does it require that you do some forgiving? Does it require that you take a class? Does it require that you pursue other career opportunities? Whatever that is, it is time for you to take action, because self-discovery is all about moving. There has to be something done. When you think about exploration and you see people exploring and doing, they're always somewhere doing something. When you're exploring the wilderness, you're taking a walk, right? You're doing some kind of action. So taking action is going to be pivotal and it's going to be key in you really cultivating the relationship with you and getting to a place of loving you and doing all those things without waiting for people, right? This is not about nobody else. So when you're asking these questions, when you are taking time to discover you and you are going and doing, it should not involve other people, and they should not be pivotal in what it is that you need to move forward, because this is about you. It's not about your children. It's not about your spouse. It's not about your best friend. It's not about any of those people. You should be taking action for you and not waiting for other people. You should be determined that you are doing what's necessary for you to move forward so that you can be the best version of you. So if I had to sum up part 2, it's about cultivating the relationship with you. It's about really fostering that growth. It's about you checking in to see what it is that you need and discovering who you are, who God has created you to be. Are you in line and in tune with that? You know who God created you to be, right? Because the scripture already tells us who He's created us to be, that we're fearfully and wonderfully made, that we are no accident. Right? Jeremiah 29:11 tells us that He knows the plans for us to prosper us and give us hope in a future and expected end, right? So we know those things. And if you go under Jeremiah 1:5, what made for purpose is all about, He told Jeremiah that before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. I set you apart. I had something for you to do and to be a prophet to the nations, for you to uproot, to tear down, to do all of these things. There was an assignment on his life. While you may not be called to the nations, God has called you for a purpose. And when you know and you understand that, then you begin to do things in alignment with that. You begin to do things that would support what God is saying. You are ultimately partnering with God to be the best version of you possible. And it's a continuous cycle. That's why it's called a cultivation process. That's why it's something that you do on a regular basis so that you can always check in and see whether or not you're on the right track, what it is that you need so that you can continue your journey of self-discovery, of loving you, of cultivating, and ultimately saying hello to you. So this has been part 2. I do apologize for all of the malfunctions and that kind of stuff, but I know that the content was there, and I know and I'm trusting that you are going to do your work that's needed for you to be the best version of you. So thank you guys for tuning in for part number 2, and please check your emails so that you can get your assignment / whatever it is that you need to do to move forward. I look forward to doing this again tomorrow so that we can take a deep dive into part 3. Have a great evening.